Gamer Dan, what's up, my man?
Hey, hey!
Nice to see you again. So it's another day in parts of Japan. Yep.
It is.
Yes, indeed. And I must say, I'm really happy that you've been able to reach out to expand the online gaming community efforts and so on.
Trying. There's a lot of people out there. They're all playing. It's just getting them all to play together.
Yeah, that's it. And thankfully, people we're reaching out to right now are in our not too distant vicinity. So it should be easier to coordinate. But time goes by, you have to still schedule within time that it suits everybody. And
Yeah, it's getting everyone together in one place. That's the only problem.
that's it. So, all right, without further ado, we'll tackle what today's topic is: top 10 SNES, the top 10 SNES games from the Completionist. Which of course got a bunch of subs. I just want to drop a like. There you go, Completionist. We'll do a solid. There you go. I've liked it beforehand. If I don't like this Completionist, I'm taking the like away. But anyway, I'm sure don't care. But so I don't know. But maybe it'll have a ripple effect. I don't know. But I'm sure I'll like it.
Should be fine.
Yeah.
Yes, I say when I'm out and about, when I'm traveling around the city, when I got jobs to do, I have my Miu Mini, my little Miu Mini, and I'm currently trying to find a game to play. So I'm scrolling down.
Mario Kart.
Might just replay Barrett's Mario World, but I want to try something new. So I thought, let's look at some classic SNES games. Some games that really made the console, that made a lot of our childhoods.
Really? In fact, I wish I could share the screen with you right now, but I'm on a Mac and I'm using the Open emulator to play a lot of SNES games. I just finished playing Zelda, Link to the Past with my I'm using this controller because I busted my SNES one, and this one I busted also. I'm pretty bad at wires. In fact, I just moved to my place and I broke a glass, which I drove my glass. So I break things. I even sat on my good old blue lights. But anyway, so as you mentioned, Dan, there's some things that work with wires, some things maybe best without. I don't know, in my case at least. So yeah, but still, when it comes to nostalgia and so on, we have to tap into the good old emulation scene to get in most cases. Of course, I mean, even if you're dealing with the Switch, to get a good old trip down memory lane and playing the SNES. Yeah, so let's check out what the Completionist ranks as his top 10. Yeah, all right, there's nothing else to say. Let's jump in. 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's muted.
Nintendo Entertainment System. The Super Nintendo Entertainment System is my jam. It's home to some of the most influential games of all time. Not just on the future of video games, but on me as a person. These are the games that made me, well, the completionist, even if I didn't get to play some of these until later in life. For those of you who've been around since the very beginning, you may be getting a sense of deja vu looking at this video and this list. But this is effectively a New Game Plus take on an old, lost list. In my opinion, have kind of changed. So throw down your favorite Super Nintendo titles in the comments down below before I've said mine, and then scream at me as to why I didn't include them in my list. Because here we are, let's buckle up for my top 10 Super Nintendo games.
All the Completionists. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I love the Completionist. I love the genuine joy he has for gaming. I respect that he's a reviewer and not a critic. I prefer critics because their goal is to point out the flaws. Reviewers are more like, hey, here's the good, here's the bad. But I like that he's happy. He's happy. He tends to lean on the positive side. Even if there are problems, he acknowledges them, but he doesn't let them ruin the experience unless they're so big that it ruins it for him.
Indeed.
But, yeah. I do like that he said the top 10, but he's arguing there's a difficult point because top 10 can be objective. There are criteria you can target and say these are the best games. But my top 10 is going to be way different from your top 10. So I think we're going to argue for or against whether they belong or where they stack. I think we'll be pleasantly surprised.
I imagine so. I gotta say, passion definitely does have that pull that makes all the difference in my opinion. People again, my favorite people are DJ Slope or Gaming Man and Larry. That's still my three favorites. Even though, well, Larry, wherever you are, I hope you're getting better soon because I want some more videos. But no, your health comes first. But the passion is what draws me to listen. And even when they're taking the Mickey out, I hope Peter Molyneux's hairline.
What hairline?
But even though he's doing that, and poking fun at games, you know that these are guys are gamers, and that's the whole thing. When I do my reactions to songs and so on, if I'm not feeling a song, it's pretty tough, I must say. But the critic in me can at least give a fair bit of analysis. But ultimately, I think we all like to come here to enjoy ourselves, and both the people on the camera and off. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if the completionist shows his face. This is the best video I've seen of his. Is he a faceless YouTuber? You ever done?
Oh no, he's not a faceless YouTuber. We see him all the time. I just don't remember if you see his face in this one.
Okay. Well, and so as it goes, we have different chapter points. What I'm thinking of is to drop a comment at the end of each chapter.
Yes. Good point. Good point.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. You got, man. I need to take a leaf out of his book.
Number 10!
One of my big omissions from my original list was Super Mario World. And not to spoil the list, but it's not on here again. That's not to say that I don't love Mario World. It is one of my favorite games. But the Super Nintendo was home to plenty of bangers. Super Mario World is definitely one of the greatest and most influential 2D platformers of all time, and it demands your respect. So, I'm rectifying that misstep by now letting you know that Super Mario World 2 is on this list. Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island is one of the most delightful games on the Super Nintendo, with jovial, catchy melodies and a fantastic hand-drawn crayon aesthetic. Yoshi's Island is the game that showed us who Yoshi really was. He's not just a mount for Mario anymore. Yoshi's Island is where we learned that Yoshi can throw eggs, flutter jump, and even turn into a helicopter. Things that are as iconic as its ridiculous tongue. Yoshi's Island expanded Super Mario World in remarkable ways, introducing a new plethora of characters, mechanics, and enemies. It paved the way for Yoshi to have his own dang series full of stories, woolly and crafted worlds, and so much more. Now, Yoshi's may touch fuzzy and get dizzy, but when you play Yoshi's Island, you get happy.
All right. Let's talk about Yoshi's Island. Now, here's the thing. He's saying that Super Mario World was on his original. He took it off. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, this is the remake. He's reviewed these games before, but one of his earlier top tens has Super Mario World, because how would you have a top 10 on the SNES without Super Mario World? It was the premier Mario game of that generation, and it pretty much codified a great open world with levels. So many games took their cue from it. It's just such a polished game. Which is why I love Yoshi's World. Admittedly, I completed the first one, and I completed the later ones, even the woolly ones. But I still think you should have put the first one on. I think the first one is just too important to gaming as a medium. It's like having no salt in your pasta. You can have pasta without salt, but why would you?
I agree with you, dude. And not only that, I think it should have been higher on the list. I mean, even Yoshi's Island, for that matter. For real, I mean, for those of you who follow my channel, I've done a whole playthrough of Yoshi's Island. If you want to check that out,
nice.
Yeah, really nice. I gotta say, I think I've got to get better at games when I do my next stream, because the amount of times I have to replay levels. Wind up some people, but yeah, these games are very important. I mean, Yoshi's Island. The whole thing about the crayon style. It's funny, Guru Larry's take on it. Apparently, well, not so much take. What he found through his fact hunting, which apparently was not entirely factual, but he, according to somebody I went into it with in the comments, he said Yoshi's Island was done by Miyamoto in that style as like a middle finger to Rareware, who were really impressing people with their graphical impressiveness of Donkey Kong Country. So he said, I'm going to go even harder in the other direction, give you a good game, but with kiddie graphics, but it'll still be a top tier game. Now again, I imagine Shigeru disputed this, let alone, I mean, before somebody came to defend him against Guru Larry's claims. But because Shigeru probably doesn't want to be seen as a sour grapes or loser kind of guy. Well, at least it's from what I imagine. But that being said, whether that's the case or not, these games are so important that I personally would put them higher up on the rank. But who knows? I mean, let's see what else he's got on this list.
Yeah, I see. I think this is a great one, but I don't mind it being quite low, because it was fairly early on in the SNES's lifespan. It was a great game, and I watched documentaries about how they developed it, how they came up with concepts. I mean, Yoshi went through so many freaking iterations. You can even see earlier iterations in the baby Yoshis. Their disjointed face. That's how the original Yoshi kind of looked. But it's I don't mind it being low, but it needed a nod. It needed it couldn't be an honorable mention. It had to be ranked. But the game, the console, it really pushed what could be done. It was one of those great platforms that allowed so many people, so many companies, so many great artists to develop interesting ideas, like the PlayStation 2. It's why the SNES library is almost as revered as the PS2 library, because there's so many varied games.
Yeah.
So having a core, solid platformer, a decent Mario game needs to be on the list. But I respect it being down in the double digits.
Fair enough. Yeah, indeed. Let's have a look at the second.
Number 9. Like many people watching this, my first introduction to Earthbound was through the original Super Smash Bros. And that's on NES as a playable character. And at the time, wasn't really a fan. I'm more of a hit something as hard as you can kind of guy, not a weird, floaty lightning recovery guy. But back in 2014, a fan named Patrick Gurzy sent me his copy of Earthbound for the show, for me to keep. Which honestly at the time, and still is to this day, a huge honor. And personally, I thought the game was amazing. And then I played it again on Super Beer Brothers, and I officially fell in love once again. Earthbound is a game that isn't afraid to get weird. The first character to help you is a tiny insect named Buzz Buzz. Part of the game literally has you play through a drug trip. Even the ad campaign wasn't afraid to get funky with the novelty scratch and sniff cards. And that is a bold choice. Don't let this fun weirdness fool you. Earthbound is a game that packs an emotional punch and can even get terrifying when you get towards the end of the journey. The creator, Shigesato Itoi, and longtime friend and collaborator, and eventually Nintendo president, Satoru Iwata, imagined a wonderfully memorable world. Earthbound sports exceptional art direction, quirky music, and a unique battle system of its time. It's turn-based just like most other RPGs of the era, but your health is represented by a rolling dial. That means you can try and heal party members before their HP actually hits 0. It's pretty clever, and clever is the perfect word to describe Earthbound. The game obviously is a cult classic for a reason, and now it's available on Nintendo Switch Online, so there's no excuse for you to not give it a shot.
Okay, I have not played Earthbound, to say no.
No, me neither. It's been one of those games that's been on my to playlist, my back burner for a long time. I have copies of it, but it never struck me as like, hey, I really want to play this,
Yeah, for sure. It's funny that I'm sure. I mean, it's funny what you said about the emotional element. This is the, like you're mentioning before, about the passion element involved in the gaming world. Emotion, a big part of it. I think when I was at college studying game development as it goes, it was a really lovely time. Even though I didn't hack it so well, so I just had to take on computer science. But anyway, that being said, it's this is the thing. The whole point of making games is that it was really lovely being amongst so many aspiring game developers. It's a really vast experience. But the trick with game development is, as you know, even beyond what has become of app development these days, with user experience design, where you're not just trying to get like a basic calculator out there, but something a bit more fancy. Typically speaking, games are a perfect blend of art and science. That is to say, you're supposed, like a calculator, it's supposed to calculate. If it does the function, that software could be considered finished by the time you programmed it and call it a day and the app's over. But with games, as we were speaking about before, even we started this call, iterations are always contemplated, because you're always trying to mathematically calculate that sweet spot. Gaming is like music. They say music is the finest of the fine arts because it's so mathematical, but it's so emotionally poignant. It's got the emotion. You're trying to code music into musical notes, and the games are doing the similar thing. You're trying to find what makes a good game through programming. And the whole point of emotion is that it is not logical, it's not programmed, it is intuitive. And even though there may be a variety of things that you like, it's all based on your experiences. And your experiences, whatever they may be, are interpreted by each one of us in our own way. We made like a game because And we may like Yoshi because not because he's a dinosaur, but because he looks like, I don't know, he looks like another cartoon that you saw in some obscure cartoon. Maybe his nose looks like Asterix from Asterix or something. You know, and all those little things. This is why it's just like if you have a robot McDonald's, you're going to need somebody in there to make sure the machine's doing it right, or it could be serving a rat on a burger. Yeah. So so
there needs to be a human element, a bit of inspiration, of creativity.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts?
I like the idea that the music is the finest of the art of the sciences, the fine arts. Yeah, it's nice, and I do think that video gaming offers a unique problem for developers. And when you're teaching, if you're trying to teach game development, which is just such a misnomer, just make games to get better at it, it's a skill, not a subject. But if you do, good schools won't teach directly, hey, this is how you do things. What they'll do is they'll teach problem solving. They'll give you a problem and then allow you to find a solution given certain parameters. Like they'll give you a bag of Legos and go, hey, I need a thing that can hold this weight. The design, how you build it, is entirely up to yourself. You have to use the tools you have to fix the problem. And that's one of the challenges of coding, is that you've got to find a way to code the object to act in a certain way within the setting, within the program. But how you go about that, there's a whole different mess of ways. Lots of different companies have different methods of doing this, different engines and whatnot. It's an artistic form of programming, kind of, because you're creating something that can be art. But whether video games is art is another argument. That's for a topic for another day.
Yeah, for real. I mean, technically,
I think it can be, but it isn't currently.
Yeah, it's due to the way it's perceived rather than what it actually is. I mean, technically, I fall in love with being emotional, and many of us have been. You probably cry. It's funny. I remember one of my modules in college where somebody, when you get, in college you get these people, but I don't know, maybe it's particularly prevalent in games. The gaming course I did. You get it's quite an eclectic field, so you get this person, you get a graphic person come in to give you their 2 cents, then a story writer, and all these people. So one of these people came by and said, "Why don't?" And you get these people who obviously don't know about games, but they're talking anyway. So you get this it's the old person saying, "How games have been around for so many years, but stories have probably been around even longer." And I'm thinking, "But come on, man! Animals play with each other, and they've been around longer than the written word." And it's naturally, and then I could say this professor came by, this person came by and said, "So why don't we cry at stories? Why don't we cry at games?" And everyone in the class like, "What? We all cry at games." "Oh, really? No, I didn't know that." "Yes, because you don't game, do you?" We all like you're saying, when it comes to the emotional aspect, the whole journey of playing the game.
I don't discount that games can be a fantastic medium for storytelling. It's one of the best mediums for storytelling and creating an emotional response, because it puts you in the actual place of the protagonist. You are going through the story. We're not passively observing someone and having the music pull our heartstrings. We're having to make the choices that could ultimately lead to loss of life. I remember the first time in Metal Gear Solid 1 where you get tortured, and if you don't survive the torture, Meryl dies. When I found that out at the end of the game, that hurt. That really hurt me. I was like, God damn. I mean, I wanted to win. And the first time I won and Meryl survived, great. That's the canon ending. But then second time I'm like, and supposedly you're supposed to let it fail. Yes, you get, when you do New Game Plus, you get the invisible suit, which makes it breaks the game. Once you've got the invisibility suit, forget it. You've won. Mm. But you actually actively have to choose the worst option, the one that hurts you emotionally.
There you go.
Yeah. But whether our games are art is a layered conversation we will have later, and it's because art says something through it. And there are a lot of companies that say, hey, this is just a game, it's not political. Well, if it's not political, it's not got any meaning, and it can't be considered art.
I want to definitely go into that with you later on.
Yeah,
we'll do that. We'll do that.
Another day.
Another
We're going to put a pin in that. Another day. I want you to mull on that argument. Not that gaming we know gaming is a great storytelling. We can tell a great story. We can get engaged with a story. Games.
You got me going, man.
If it doesn't, say something.
You got me going. Oh, you know what? Guys.
Next game, number 8.
Sure. Yeah, number 8. Let's do it. I'm going to make a note.
Number 8. You know, lately I've been meeting a lot of content creators who don't like this game, and I gotta tell you, I'm angry at all of you, because I love this game. In the days of the Super Nintendo, everyone knew what they were in store for when it came to RPGs. That is until Secret of Mana flipped everything on its head. Although it still had the same high fantasy setting you might find in Squaresoft classics, Secret of Mana was one of the earliest RPGs to feature quote-unquote real-time combat. You could switch characters on the fly, change equipment, or cast spells by using the ring command in order to pause combat for a brief moment. This real-time combat was taken even further with another thing that RPGs didn't really have much of: multiplayer. If you had the super multi-tap, up to 3 people could play the game with you at the same time, which definitely makes the game even more enjoyable. All of this innovation is balanced out with bright and beautiful pixel art graphics, an incredible score, and a wonderful story that is as epic as it is silly. Secret of Mana is one of those games that showed me what an RPG could be. And honestly, I still think it's a real shame that the 2018 remaster just underperformed for me in a lot of ways that the original Secret of Mana did. Secret of Mana is a beautiful game that still deserves attention all these years later. I recognize that the combat's not for everyone, but once you learn how to play the game, it is very, very fun.
All right.
Number 7.
Stop.
I'm biased. I want to preface this by saying that I am biased. I wasn't when I was younger. I tried Secret of Mana, and I couldn't really get into it. When he said it was a silly story, yeah, it's kind of silly. And I played a little of it, but it didn't gel with me because I liked RPGs, and RPGs for me were turn-based. Those were the RPGs that I played. Those were the way I liked to play it. I have since then played more games. I've expanded my tastes, and I have finished Dragon's Dogma by Capcom. Dragon's Dogma is essentially the Elder Scrolls or the big high fantasy version of that game. You actively have to put in button combinations like a fighting game when you're fighting. So I had to punch and kick and blast and arrow my way through hordes of enemies. And I fell in love with it, man. Quite early on, I got the game. Its hook went right in my mouth and pulled me up, man. I was freaking hooked. I loved that game. I am very excited for the sequel. I've been watching the videos with drool coming down, and I think I want to go back to this game because from what I've read, from what I've seen of other gamers, if you can get into the combat, the game's great. If you can't get into that headspace, it's not for you. Hell, he started this little section by saying he spoke to other content creators and none of them liked this game. I think it's because they too like their RPG turn-based.
Okay, that's it. I don't know why it just didn't click, but yeah, that's it. It's the first of a different kind of RPG that wasn't the good old-fashioned. Yeah, it's only. It's not
the standard. It's not the standard. It's kind of a weird offshoot. There aren't many games that do this, and it's kind of an acquired taste. And much like olives or smoking, you don't start off liking it. People who like games, people who like RPGs, probably won't like this game. But if you play enough of it to get it, oh baby, you get it. Yeah, you get into it. So people who say they like olives, no. They like olives. And smoking is freaking addictive. So,
but yeah, this is a Secret of Mana.
Secret of Mana.
I actually had not played or seen it before. Me, and I got a bunch of ROMs that I still have to go through. But
it'll be on there. It's always in it's always in compilations and gatherings because it's got a large enough following that it always appears on the best RPGs, but it's never quite high.
I'm just making notes of things to actually go check out later because
I would try it. I mean, to help. I mean, I've got my I might play that one. I'm thinking I need a new SNES game to play while I'm traveling, when I'm on the train and on the bus.
That's the way.
Secret of Mana. It's about time, you know?
Yeah, I mean, think about all the way we've come from. I guess I'm going to see where Zelda ranks on this thing. I'm sure it's going to be there. If not, then anyway. But as far as RPGs not being turn-based, Zelda's an RPG, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Zelda's an RPG.
So when it came to these turn-based ones, very Pokemon style, your go, my go, that's you know what's funny? This is the whole beauty of art, which personally, I'll talk with you about the art thing later on, but the evolution, at least, of gameplay is that people think that a genre it has to have X, Y, and Z. Then after a while, you get people, because everybody wants things to be different, so by the time you do the same thing again, you put a twist on it. Yeah, and then after a while, is that an RPG? That's not. Then when Shenmue came along, people wondered, what the heck? What is this? So and so that's
just the joy of an evolving or an active medium. You're going to have tropes or certain contexts but it's never going to be hard lines. There's always going to be things that blur the line. Like, Undertale. Is Undertale a JRPG? The art style is pixelated. The combat is turn-based. It provides extensive written descriptions. It has many tropes of a JRPG beyond the Japanese part. But then From Software is a Japanese company in Japan, and that's an RPG made in Japan. So if your criteria for a JRPG is specifically the Japanese, buddy, Demon's Souls is a JRPG, and that argument pisses a lot of people off.
We're going to get into that one
it's
too.
It's important not to consider genres as hard lines. They aren't segregated gardens. It's a field, but we kind of allocate that area, and certain tropes bleed over. I mean, look at the Yakuza series. That's an RPG series, but man, I'd also argue that's just a mini game delivery system. Great games. I freaking love the Yakuza series, but I don't care much about the story for most of the gameplay. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in 100%ing all the little mini things I can do.
And this is the RPG versus the JRPG, which you said JRPG is more like, even though with JRPG, like you say, it's more about you become the character versus the RPG. That's what you told me.
It's the position and role. My argument between the RPG and JRPG is who you are playing. Are you playing yourself? Are you creating a character, or are you playing an existing character? Everything else is just kind of set dressing. And it blurs, it swaps forwards and backwards. But I think that's the core.
And therefore, it's if it's leaning more towards the emulation, simulation side of things, where you get to just be you in an unrestricted world, then that's where it leans more to the Western taste.
Yeah, simulation is very much in the Western. It is being able to embody a role as opposed to role playing a role. Playing someone else. But this game, it looks good, and I'm excited to play it. I'm looking forward to it. Now that I have a taste, I think now that the gameplay, that is such a core part of the game, is palatable to me, it opens up a lot more games. Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah,
a gateway drug.
I'm gonna drop number 6 or 7. Sorry. I wish you put the name of the games right in front.
Mario RPG!
There's a reason why the collective internet lost its mind over the announcement that Super Mario RPG was getting a remake for Switch. Super Mario RPG: The Legend of the Seven Stars seems like a dream from another reality. Squaresoft and Nintendo coming together to bring the best of both into one perfect package. Super Mario RPG works as the ideal fusion of a Mario platformer and a traditional RPG. All of the battles and exploration you'd expect from a Final Fantasy game are there, with a few notable changes. First, the game has an isometric point of view so that you can do some platforming in the main world. Second, attacking in battles is built much more around button presses and timing, much like how you would time your jumps in a Mario title. And because it's an RPG, this game is full of very weird, very charming, and very lovable characters. The game is brimming over with personality and heart. Every location is so fully realized and overflowing with memorable characters and moments and phenomenal music. Beyond the compelling story, you'll want to comb every corner for what is in this expansive new world that Mario has. Boss battles are very engaging, at times super challenging, and the game has incredibly strong writing throughout. And there are so many wild swings that are taken in Super Mario RPG, and they work to great effect. Characters like Booster and the Axum Rangers shouldn't work in the Mario universe, and yet they do perfectly. Add some wonderful characters like Mallow or the beloved puppet Geno that fans still want in Smash, and you have one of the most likable parties in an RPG ever. And Bowser and Peach are both in your party for the first time. Kind of a big deal. The spirit of Super Mario RPG is also responsible in no small parts to indirectly birthing the Paper Mario and Mario & Luigi series. So if you're a fan of those, you've got to play Super Mario RPG. And if you don't want to play the Super Nintendo version, just wait a couple of more months, because I can't believe it, the remake is almost here.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mentioned that I was looking for a game. This was the game I wanted to play. I wanted to play Super Mario RPG, but now I know that the remake is coming out on the Switch. I'm going to wait for the Switch version, the polished up version. You know, I do kind of want to play them both to compare and contrast, but that's a time investment that I have other games that I kind of want to play as well. So maybe I'll come back to the N64 version. But I like the Paper Mario series, I really do, and I like the classic Square RPGs. You know, Mario and Square RPG, turn-based RPG. Baby, just sign me up.
I have to confess, I have not played it.
I haven't finished it. And that's why I wanted to go back to it. Because I didn't finish it when I was a kid, and it's always been one of those that I want to do. But now we're getting a remake. We're getting a polished up Switch version. Yes.
I'd rather play that one than even the old one, to be honest. But what I'm going to do is, because you have the Switch and I'm a bit out of Switch at the moment, I'm going to ask if you please play it, and maybe who knows, maybe you can stream it at some point.
I'll stream it. I'll happily, make a regular thing. I will come out, finish work, come home, and then I'll play for a few hours and stream the whole thing.
If you'd like to do that, then
that way you can skip past all my grinding. For those of you out there who are in the know, I'm a power leveler.
Super. I'm thinking, should I, maybe if we do it on the same, of course we can put it on the channel, maybe I should have a go until you get it, and I should start streaming the RPG. I mean, yeah, why don't I do that? I'll do that, and then we'll contrast it with what you can experience.
A little bit of, compare and contrast is always fun.
So, all right, then that's on the list. I'm going to put in my memo also. Just a second. Okay, that's on the list. Okay, I'll start doing that. Who knows? Maybe by tomorrow I should have some time. All right, guys, no promises, but I'll try. All right, is it still number 6?
It's a great game, but you got to get into it.
Sorry, my computer's trying to do a restart. Okay, at one point, I'm not going to stop the video, but I'm going to stop sharing at one point while you're giving a commentary, just to quickly deal with something on the software side, and then I'll put the share back up. But number 6, we can do it.
Hey, we do what we got to do.
Okay, and here we go. We'll do 6 first.
There are a few games that better drive you to become a completionist than that of the franchise that is Metroid. Specifically, Super Metroid. This is a game that rewards speedrunning and collecting. It even birthed its own genre. And even though Super Metroid isn't the first game to feature non-linear level design, it is the one that perfected it and deservedly garnered critical praise. Everything about Super Metroid is astonishing. The art direction creates a haunting beauty that invites the player to press on despite the sense of foreboding. Every corner of Zebes is scored to perfection, with a sonic landscape that evokes both the adventure ahead and the ominous dangers below. And as you progress, you find more items, perfect basic techniques, and flip from prey to predator. Then you beat the game, and you want to do it again, only faster and better this time. Now that seems like a basic description, but if we're talking about me here, if you've been watching my stuff for the last 12 years, you've seen me talk about Super Metroid time and time again. From speedrunning to randomizers, to teaching friends how to nail complex techniques. This game has been one of my obsessions throughout my career. Super Metroid is one of those games that is endlessly replayable and has changed the way that I see games forever.
Stop. All right. I don't know what game that is yet, but I'll have to just pretend I don't know.
I do.
Bloody hell. Well, yeah. Oh my gosh. I definitely want to see what game that is because I've used graphics from this in one of my other games. Sorry, don't rat on me.
Super Metroid, there is little to be said.
Yeah.
It's the half of the Metroidvania subgenre title. It is a fantastic game. The first one was a brilliant game, but oppressively difficult. Really, really hard. But it was still back in the day when game developers were coming out of arcades, where the crushing difficulty was how they profited. And the sequel was a Game Boy game, which bold, having such a complex, interesting story on the Game Boy game. But the events of that led directly into Super Metroid. They got it all right. It was almost a case study on iteration, on improving upon a good idea. It's what made Mario great. It's what made Zelda great. It's what made a lot of Nintendo games great. They are constantly polishing and refining and improving and just getting it right. It's also one of the reasons I think that Sega's such a joke these days. Anytime they come up with a great game, they don't iterate on it. They don't polish it. They don't go back to it. They come up with a brand new thing. They're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I love the past tense. I love the Sega's willingness to push the envelope, to press ahead, to jump into the unknown. I mean, they had a modem in their early consoles before home PCs were a regular thing, before the freaking internet was a thing. They had DLC for Sonic Adventure 1. Do you realize just how ahead of the curve? They weren't ahead of the curve. They were playing a different sport to what everyone else was doing.
Sega.
And that forward thinkingness, made them household name. But it did burn them. It did sink the ship. They ran so far ahead that they lost their way. They spent so much money on
and
forward-thinking ideas that they weren't bringing in enough to support themselves. I appreciate Sega for their forward-thinkingness, but I do acknowledge that did destroy them.
Yeah, for sure.
And Metroid is one of the games I cite. Super Metroid is one of the games I cite when I think that to make a great game, you have to build on what came before.
Absolutely.
Great, you having a wonderful new idea, but learn from your elders.
Yeah, my goodness. It's funny enough. This is a little funny. I have little theories in my mind. I don't know why one of my gamer friends disagrees with this. She's in Canada at the moment. Hopefully I'll try and get her back at some point. It's pretty hard to just kind of pull people with that. But anyway, Japan, in Japanese, there's a word called Luigi or Luigigo. That means synonym. Therefore, Luigi, the word goes is a particle that represents you talking about a language or word or something. So Luigi tells me that it must mean synonymous. So therefore, I say, oh, Mario has a brother called Luigi, but the G in Japanese sounds like G. And the R, not to mention, and the L sound. The R and L sound are essentially R. And I was thinking that I'm sure some clever genius wordsmith used the name of Mario's brother Luigi, which is an Italian name, to actually represent Luigi, and people wouldn't realize. And that's a person I think is genius, and they're twins, and of course they're palette swaps. So I'm thinking, obviously, he must be synonymous, and it comes to reason when you have Waluigi and Wario being
wordplay is their worry, evil or bad Mario.
Yeah, and it's therefore Waluigi makes even more sense. But that being said, so. The names, I was thinking, now this is me just reaching here, just sorry, it's going down a little tangent. So, isn't it funny that the mascot of Sega is Sonic, and the name means sound,
or speed, Sonic Boom.
Yeah, but ultimately the word Sonic is a sound word, right? Isn't Sonic? Yeah. Now, therefore, you have Sony taking the mantle off the Sega to go. It's almost like there's a spiritual successor. It's like the Sonic is gone, but Sony.
That'd be nice if they were. But most gamers know the story of how Nintendo hired Sony to make them a new console, and then decided, we'll stick with the cartridges. the archaic format that takes forever to program for. And
Of
so Sony were like, well, we've got this console.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen,
the
PlayStation.
Of course, I'm not denying any of the lore, but that being said, it's very quaint to me. And I was thinking, and when it comes to Sega and Sony, I think Sony did what Sega wished they did. That is to say, or they used to have the resources to do what they wish they did. When they converged with the DVD player and everything, they weren't just doing it for doing its sake. They had a bunch of money, and they had their hand in a bunch of other industries. I mean, there's Sony. I don't know how big Sony Records was. Well, of course it was. I was going to say how big it was before.
Sony Records.
So Sony has all of this money to make their things work. Now, a lot of technology, new technology comes out that people want to be prevalent. A lot of it's subsidized and it's pushed out there because somebody else can back it. And Sega, they kind of outran themselves in terms of how much money they put into. Even Shenmue, for instance, how much money they put into their innovative new ideas. But when it comes to Sony's like, don't worry, hold my beer. We can bankroll this.
They had the money to back it up.
Yeah,
they had the money to back it up. Yeah,
that's it. And
you're quite right.
Again, did the same thing. It's like, we got a bunch of money too. It doesn't work with everybody. Look at Google Stadia. You think that should work? Google, for goodness sake. But they obviously, if they don't know what they're doing when it comes to having the heart for heart,
Google. Many times, Google have barged into other mediums or other places and gone, "Hey, we got a lot of money."
Gate crushing.
Well, we don't know what the fuck we're doing, so we're throwing money at something and getting it wrong.
And that's what I really love about this. Is what gives me confidence. People say AI's going to do this, AI's going to do that. When just because you got all the resources, whether it be AI or money or X, Y, Z, to reasonably presume that you're going to take over, it doesn't mean you will, because it comes to actually having that actual artistic taste and flair and actual intuitive sense.
Talent is an asset.
That's it, essentially.
You need talent.
When you have that,
you need to build it.
Think about it. You think that they should be able to buy talent, but even that doesn't work. You know why? Because the actual people heading the ship need to be talented. It's not even just a case of I got money, we'll hire these people. I think Microsoft. They tried to offer money to one of these. The guy made Zelda. No, was it him? I think to join Microsoft.
I wouldn't be surprised. But he said offered money to a lot of people to join them.
And I think why these companies would say no to these companies because you can see where they're going. You haven't got the heart. It's got to be. You got to have the heart, in my opinion. But I don't know.
Former Rare workers got together to create Completionist, which is the company that made created Ukulele, which was supposed to be the spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo-Kazooie was being produced by Rare, which was bought by Microsoft early, into the 7th or 8th generation. They were working on early Xbox 360 games. So, Rare was around for the N64, which made their name. The SNES, the N64, made Rare a name. But the next generation, when the GameCube came out, nope, no Rare. Nope, they were bought and sold. But members left Rare to create Playtronics, and you'll notice that the villain of that game is a corporate structure that squashes all people beneath them. Treats everyone like drones in a beehive.
Microsoft.
Maybe they were a little bit bitter.
Yes.
Maybe the people above them to making demands had no fucking concept of what they were doing. They had no talent for the field.
A nod and a wink, I tell you, a nod and a wink. And this is what I love about what we do. As we give a bit of background into the whole world of gaming behind the games themselves, and it's got its own lore. The lore to what the console was when they were, as you said, when console was a thing, and so on. It's definitely something to learn from. And before I just had to come out. Thing for a second to just deal with this computer thing. So what I want to say about Metroid, so what I say about Metroid was there we go. Now, when you brought that spoiler, I must admit, there's a lot of games I haven't played actually. I've only touched on, and Metroid's one of them. I have to confess, maybe people say what, but I have to confess, people haven't. But
Metroid's a fun game. You can pick that up and play that. It's infinitely playable. I mean, Yoshi's Island and Super Mario RPG, Secret of Mana. These are good games, but they are games of their age. They feel like an SNES game. Super Metroid's great because it plays not too dissimilar from Dread. You know, Dread's got a lot more bells and whistles and a bit more polish, but Super Metroid is infinitely playable today. It's still a game that holds up as a solid game. Period. It's not a
Judge Dredd?
Oh, it's an SNES game. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, you mean Judge Dredd?
Yeah, like
yeah.
I like the Donkey Kong series, but I don't tend to play the first one. I do play the second one. I play Diddy Kong.
Diddy Kong's Quest. I'm playing that right now.
A decade.
Yeah.
That's a great game. That's a solid game, and it still holds up. It's a game good of it in its own right. I don't play the first one because it's good, but it's an SNES game. You know, there are more recent games that are polished better.
I get it. This is fantastic. I think I can start sharing again. I think here we go. Let's dealt with the issue, and actually, before we jump back on, therefore, when it comes to Metroid and the depth and what is created, in fact, I was going to say, oh boy, for all those girls who are getting complaining about being outmatched in the current climate of people who are being matched up with ladies in sports these days, I really wish this Metroid suit was available. I gotta say, I'm very impressed with the whole thing of she's a lady underneath. She's a lady. Anyway, I know
it's superfluous. The gender's superfluous to her ability. So it was always nice when people played it enough that they revealed, hey, it was a chick all along, and she became one of the first ladies of gaming.
Yeah, and it's very much like Mulan, you know, the Disney Mulan of. We have to sneak one in for.
Honestly, I kind of preferred it when she was just a face. You know, you didn't know her backstory, you didn't know anything about her. She was just her in a dungeon with a bunch of monsters. Let her speak for herself.
Definitely. Oh, here we go. I think we are back in business. All right, let's
nice. We're on number 6.
Yeah. Oh, actually 5 now.
5. Sorry, we're on number 5.
Yeah, and come on, share. Oops, wrong option. Just a second. 3, 2, 1. There we go. All right, my good people. Thanks so much. Wait, it's not to be at 12 o'clock.
Yeah, thing, so... I think that art looks just like the Mother, Earthbound. But I think Earthbound was earlier, wasn't it?
Oh, yes. Well, let's see what we have here. 3, 2, 1.
When this list was made for the first time all those years ago, I noted that 2 games were missing because I hadn't played them yet, despite people saying they were some of the greatest games of all time. Earthbound and Chrono Trigger. Clearly, I liked Earthbound.
Yes.
So what did I think of Chrono Trigger? It's amazing. First off, the creative pedigree behind the game is bonkers. You've got a script by Yuji Horii, creator of Dragon Quest. You've got art by Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball. You've got the designer of freaking Final Fantasy, Hironobu Sakaguchi. And rounding it all off, the iconic score by Nobuo Uematsu. This is basically the Avengers team-up of the Super Nintendo RPG era. Chrono Trigger features all of the great gameplay that people have come to expect from Square, except that random battles occur wherever players are standing. This creates a level of smooth immersion that just isn't seen in traditional RPGs from this era. Add on some of the most incredible and phenomenal pixel art ever, with a wonderful story about time travel that never forgets itself, and you've got one of the best games ever made. What makes Chrono Trigger one of the all-time greats is its story. Not only are there tons of incredible characters, looking at you, Frog, but it takes advantage of time travel in a way that truly feels novel, altering locations and even affecting the end of the story. Chrono Trigger has 13 unique different endings, and while this may seem daunting for completionists out there, each one just feels like a bonus for replaying the game over and over again. I love Chrono Trigger so much that I made it the subject of my 200th episode of The Completionist. Chrono Trigger left a huge impression on me and continues to reverberate to this day.
All right, number 4. Chrono. That was interesting. Again, these are games I'm in Okinawa, and there's a place I recommend anyone coming to check out called Manga Soko. That's a place. I don't know if you've been there.
I haven't. I've seen it.
I've been there, and it's just up to the bloody ceiling. All these cartridges full of old, and I was like, I never knew there were that many games in existence. But
yes. There are so many games. People complain about shovelware. It's always been a problem.
There you go. I tell you, but this is that kind of game is one of the games when I walk past it, you kind of see it like on a demo.
Oh, it'd be displayed with prominence. Chrono Trigger is. It was great when it first came out. It was amazing when it first came out. It is great now. I've completed that game a couple of times. I haven't completed it on the SNES. I completed the DS re-release, but it was just a direct port, of the game with a bit of polish, and it's good. It's just really, really good. No notes, no notes.
This
Take
is it,
people who
man.
know what they're doing, people with real talent for what they
Mm,
do, and real passion and talent, and put them together, and boom.
my God, I'm gonna have to play. I think I don't want
Yeah.
to speak on it yet because I don't know what. Even though he's just giving me a big old spiel, and but the one thing I would speak about is the many endings. That sounds. I mean, on one hand, I can appreciate somebody trying to give somebody something worth replaying for. You play. I remember one of my earliest memories when I was a kid playing as Mario in Super Mario, or in Mario Land on the Game Boy. I think I've mentioned this in the channel before. As a kid, I mean, I don't know. I used to go quite deep into the meaning of life and so on, and some of you may know that quite deep into that.
Great thing
And
about art.
yeah, right. And then when I finished playing Mario, I always felt this emptiness. I feel like, is that it? I was like, Mario's happy, but what for me? And as a kid, and then I was thinking when you get games like Pokemon and so on, at least there's more Pokemon to catch. But and then there's Mewtwo, and then let's get the cheat code. But of course, when it comes to games like this, giving you different unique endings. I mean, I play Street Fighter with every character, trying to get every single ending, and you just want to have a good reason to revisit the world. And what I've come to find, well, which I'll hopefully, maybe I'll put a song out there one day about it, but which I'm hoping to, but is that I think the essence of what makes a game replayable is just the love of it, more than all the stuff you load into it. It's one of those less is more things, which is weird because the love of the game is something that you have to feel. It's not something that necessarily you can put in it. And this is what I love about games more and more is that I find I wouldn't. I mean, these days I can be a critic, here and there, just based on knowing how the sausage is made, if you will. but the but the essence of gaming. When I grew up at least, I used to think, maybe in my teen years, that there's no such thing as a bad game. At least if it is at least properly made. If it's a game that has a beginning, middle, and end, I was thinking, if I don't like this, there's something about me. I think that every game could be an acquired taste. That's essentially what I'm trying to say. I think we spoke about this before. The four kinds of gamers: the gamers that try to get the skill to be able to play a game. If I find a game, I used to find because I cried as a kid. Yeah,
Achievers. Yes, they want to get the high score. They want to get the completion. They want to do everything.
Exactly. I used to feel that as a kid. I used to cry when I lose a game with brothers. I lost this game. My nephew, he dying in Pokemon. Oh, this is gonna kill me. This is gonna take my Pikachu. I have to take him to the Pokemon Center. I said, don't worry. This is part of growing. After a while, you learn to toughen up. And I used to think, wow, maybe a lot of things I didn't like was over throwing a fit and having a tantrum over not winning. And then I thought to myself, maybe I actually need to become a better player to get this. And most games that I play, I realize there's a way to like it. But of course, as a grown up now, I know that there are some games that are you could argue poorly made at the very least. In the name of they give people the impression that they're bad at games when technically the game actually was poorly made. I mean, at least for its intended audience. But what do you think?
There is an interesting argument to be made there that there is no bad game beyond those that are shovelware. Those games that are pumped out without any joy or passion or desire to make a good game. They're made solely to capitalize. Like classically, like movie-based games or games based on movies, or games based on other IP. And historically, they were always trash because they tended to be pumped out quite quickly to capitalize on the release of the film. And no matter how many times I try and play the first Jurassic Park game, oh God. I try to like that game over and over, but it's just poorly implemented. But yeah, maybe games that you can play a game and not enjoy it, not be your preferred genre, not be your preferred style. You do a lot of different things you can disagree with a game, but you can't argue that it's bad because you don't like it. It's just not for you. There might be an argument there that the only bad games are ones poorly made. But I do think that it's a layered conversation because there's degrees to this, you know.
We'll talk about that for sure.
I think we've got two on the board already. Boom. You know, can games be art if they don't say anything? And two, you know, can games be good if the people making it don't care?
We're going to talk about that for sure, definitely. We also keep the number 4, but that's the only thing I could say. Even if I love about what we do is that even when I can't have anything to say about the game, it's still an interesting topic to spring off.
Yeah, this is the game that I cite when people talk about, we hired the best talent. Yeah, usually if you hire the people who are good at what they do, they produce something good. And this is a fantastic artist and writer with one of the guys who invented the style of gameplay, with one of the best composers in the field at the time, producing a goddamn gem. Just everyone, no notes. Just a kiss.
Fantastic. Let's see number 4.
If you haven't played Chrono Trigger, fuck the earlier games. Just play Chrono Trigger.
I will. Oh my God.
Or Zelda. Just play Zelda.
Come on.
Just play all
I
Zelda.
just finished this, guys.
A Link to the Past randomizer any day, let alone a Super Metroid Crossing to the Past randomizer. The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past is my favorite Zelda game of all time. It goes back and forth between this and A Link Between Worlds for the 3DS. A Link to the Past redefined what a top-down adventure could be. Everyone in the gaming industry took note of this entry and knew greatness had redefined the fantasy adventure genre, let alone defined what made a good Zelda game. Hyrule is vibrant and alive. The Dark World is a terrifying hellscape. The story is engaging. The music is exceptional. The dungeons are varied and inventive. The items are iconic. I can honestly gush about this game for hours, and I have multiple times. Speaking to townsfolks, doing side quests, finding every secret and maxing out everything. The game pushes you in a non-intrusive way to be the best version of Link you can be and best Ganon with such ease. There's just something so special about the feeling you get while playing a game like this. And that motivation has been with me for a long time, because this is the very first game I ever got on my Super Nintendo. I entered into that version of Hyrule when I was a young boy, and I am still happily playing it to this day.
Me too. So Zelda, I mean, we just did a whole thing about Zelda. Let me get rid of this ad 1 second.
Yeah. I love the series, but that wasn't the game that sold me. It was Ocarina of Time. The one that truly sold me. I then went back and I saw the joy. I saw the light, but it was Ocarina of Time that was my introduction and my gateway into the Zelda franchise. That's why the 3D ones will always hold a more prominent place in my heart.
Yeah. But again, like I told you, I broke my controllers. I'm gonna get one of those N64 controllers again to just go back into it, because I mean, I really love Nintendo 64 for it really brought us into the 3D world nicely, you know, because there's a whole thing about back in my day, you know, 2D versus 3D, is the 3D gonna have the same charm? But when the again, the Mario 64, the Ocarina of Time, Banjo-Kazooie, these games, like Crash Bandicoot 2, you know, it's great, of course. I mean, these games set us off to go forward. I mean, without it, I mean, you having no 2.5D today, of course, without success of the 3D. You know, I mean,
going from 2D to 3D was a massive. It was a landmark shift. It was entirely breaking a game down to its component parts and saying, how does this work in 3D?
Yeah.
And Nintendo really got some of them right and really set up future successes.
Yeah. My God. I mean, personally, I love Sonic Adventure, even though I understand it was not his favorite. But you know, they're not like the 2D Sonic, of course. But that being said, it's the fact that they. I mean,
are we recording? Oh yeah, recording.
Oh yeah, thank goodness. Thank goodness. I thought, my God. But so when it came to, I guess I went back to the Link to the Past. I mean, partly because I got to emulate and just smash up controller, and what else can I play with 4 buttons? I used to be Link to the Past. And then I really went in the town on that thing, and the story. But that being said, I'm definitely going to jump back into the NES Zelda, which you said is more like the today's Zelda, which is more free form. And I want to.
The first one is again, it's an acquired taste. It's not an easy game. Especially if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I have to confess something, people. You can start throwing eggs and whatever, rotten tomatoes at me, but I've not played a Zelda game yet that I didn't need a game guide for at some point, at least. I'm sorry. Don't throw stones, but I'm playing it's just because
it's all right. You could play most Zelda games without needing it, but if you want to get everything and do everything, it's just smarter to use a guide or a help than to scramble around the world for hours and hours getting frustrated.
Yeah, the
only game I can think that where you wouldn't really need that is Skyward Sword, because most of that is kind of self-evident. There aren't many things in that game you would need a guide for. Just
shifty eyes.
Just look at a guy with shifty eyes, or just spoke to Fee and she'll walk you through everything. Right, onwards and upwards. Number 3.
Oh, the last thing I would say is I think the only game I certainly didn't need a game guide with is Shenmue. In fact, I didn't need it with Banjo, did I? No, I didn't. No, Shenmue. The reason why is because the game is so clear. It's like life, and I'm like, don't come to me with a game guide with that. I mean, it's not. Anyways, keep going. 3, 2, 1.
Nice.
Oh my God, Tom, you stop, you bastard! Sorry.
It's hard to think of a game that I know better than Mega Man X. As a kid, I would play it endlessly, trying to figure out the best way to beat every level and Robot Master attached, or Maverick at this case. And even though it received 7 sequels and countless spin-offs, I still think the Mega Man X original is the best in the series. Mega Man X takes everything from the standard Mega Man series and harmoniously elevates every aspect of it. Movement options are heightened, level design is more immaculate than ever. Of course, the art is top-notch. The actual characters and story that is there is pretty engaging, and it's all complemented by some absolute bangers on the Super Nintendo. This, to me, is the definition of a comfort game. I can pick it up, wreck shop, completing the hell out of it in just over an hour. Now look, I'm not getting any speedrunning records by any means, but I'm always having a hell of a lot of fun whenever I dive back into Mega Man X. And hey, if you like Mega Man X, right now I just finished up a series on Super Beard Bros where I interview famous celebrities, content creators, and game developers and talk to them while I speedrun Mega Man X. There's 8 episodes for you to look, so you know, if you like the game as much as I do, come on by and watch them. It seriously feels like Mega Man X was made specifically for me. There's so much to do. It's enough of a challenge without feeling unfair, and in my eyes, it is endlessly replayable. Mega Man X is my favorite Mega Man game for a reason, and you'd be a fool to not play it.
Fool, you say? Well, I'm no fool. I will play it after this. By the way, Dan, I've only got like 12 minutes. I got around 12, so I'm gonna. I want you to give your comments, and I'll try and keep mine minimal. But what are your comments on the Mega Man X?
No. I say the Mega Man X is a special place in my heart. I have completed X, X2, and X3. It's fantastic. It really is. It takes all the best parts of Mega Man and just adds dynamic speed and layers, elevation to it. It's great. It's easy to see why the Mega Man series became so prolific. Do you need speed pass down? No notes. I'm good.
Oh, right. But do you have do you need 4 buttons, or do you need 6 buttons? Do you need the corner buttons, or can you use 4 buttons?
I think you can play it with just 4.
Okay, in that case, I think I should be able to play it with my smashed up controller. Thank goodness. All right. For now. All right, number 2. 3, 2, 1. 2.
Before we go on to talking about number 2 on this list, I want to show you something.
All right.
Okay, kid, show me what you got. Yeah, right.
This is the first commercial for Final Fantasy VI, originally introduced to us in the US as Final Fantasy III. This in no way represents what actually happens in the game, but it did do one thing right. It made little Gerard want to play that game. And fortunately for Gerard, his cousin Nick was there ready to oblige. Now, full disclosure, I don't talk about my family all that often outside of my immediate family, but my cousin Nick was the guy responsible for introducing me to gaming as a whole. And he started me off with the previously mentioned Secret of Mana and Final Fantasy VI. And these 2 games completely changed my life. Everything about Final Fantasy VI is perfect. Music, art, gameplay. But the thing that separates Final Fantasy VI from every other game is the story. It is complex and enthralling. often feeling like a high fantasy version of Star Wars, but even better. The stakes are high, the characters are relatable, and Kefka is an unbeatable villain. Seriously, he is like a combination of Ramsay Bolton, the Joker, and Iago from Othello. If I were to choose a moment that defined this entire game, it'd be the infamous opera scene. It's beautiful, enchanting, silly, and larger than life. And all of this on a 16-bit console. Absolutely astounding. In my opinion, Final Fantasy VI walked so that Final Fantasy VII could run. Both are great ensemble pieces, but without 6, there is no 7. Final Fantasy VI is my Final Fantasy. I love it so much that I've said often, and it is true, that it will be one day the penultimate episode of The Completionist when I'm finally done with the YouTube grind. So in that case, what will be my grand finale? Well, you have no further to look than number 1 on this list.
Well, yeah, hell of a ringing endorsement.
I have some thoughts on that.
Please let me know.
But let's say we got less than 10 minutes left. What we're going to do is we're going to third pin, Final Fantasy. What defines a Final Fantasy game? What makes a good Final Fantasy game? 6 is a good Final Fantasy game. But he said 6 walked so 7 could run. And I have some thoughts on that.
All right.
Some good, some bad, depending on your position. Some for and some against. I don't agree with him, but I do see where he's coming from. But that I would need like half an hour to explain that. There is background that's needed. All right, I need a cue cards. Okay, so
we definitely forgot opinion that one.
I want to talk about that, but let's just wrap this up. Number 1.
Yes, so number 2 is making a memo. All right, number 1.
Now, this one should not be a surprise to anyone who's a fan of my channel. Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Kong Quest is my favorite game of all time. So it stands to reason that it would be my favorite Super Nintendo title. There's so many reasons that I love this game, and while everything in this video has been me reading from a script, I'm just going to talk about it from my heart as I think of it. Donkey Kong Country 2's Diddy's Kong Quest was the last game that my mom bought me before she got sick. That is why it is my number 1 game with regards to sentimental value. Luckily for me, this game is phenomenal outside of that. The game kind of proposes and answers the question of what if player 2 went on their own journey to save player 1. Player 2 up to this point has kind of been the sidekick character in the form of Diddy Kong, and now he has number 2 in the form of Dixie Kong. The game is darker, the levels are more difficult but more complex. The soundtrack is way more leveled up from the first game. Every stage is full of bonus barrels with secrets and challenges within them, DK coins, collecting Kong in every stage to get 1-ups if you need them, and then getting gold coins to either get hints or to even make a save. The platforming is so perfect. The game has so many highs and lows that are exciting and scary, difficult but rewarding. There's not a dull moment in this game. The reason why I say this will be my very last episode is because it's kind of my swan song. That episode will be my worst episode ever because I'm going to essentially release it like I intended to when I first started the show. I know on YouTube I've been known a lot as like the Final Fantasy guy, the indie guy, the platformer guy, the banjo guy. But if I am responsible for anything, if someone called me the Donkey Kong Country 2 guy, that would be amazing. I did not do a very good job talking about how great this game is, and honestly, that's okay. Because when I do decide to walk away from all of this, you'll know exactly bit by bit why this game is just the absolute best in my eyes. So that's been my top 10 Super Nintendo games. I'm sure I didn't cover some of your favorites, and hey, that's okay. The console just has too many great titles. And as a reminder, if you want to watch some of my interviews with some awesome guests while I speedrun Mega Man X, there's a link on screen right now or a playlist down below. Thanks for watching, and hope you're all doing well. Bye.
Bye, mate.
You're welcome, Gerard. Always happy to watch.
There you go. Stop. Ad playing. Stop. That's pretty funny looking at. Sorry, I'll watch it later. Anyway, sorry. Let's come out of the share screen.
Let's wrap this baby up. I gotta say, I don't disagree with most of the things he put on there. Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger, DK2. Just I would have put them in slightly different orders.
Yeah,
I would have put Super Mario World a little bit higher. I might have put Final Fantasy 7, 6 a little lower, Chrono Trigger a little higher. No F-Zero X.
No Mario Kart, man.
No Mario Kart, no F-Zero, no Killer Instinct, which, sorry,
what are you doing?
Yes, without Killer Instinct.
Yeah. Maybe we should do a top 20 or something.
Yeah, and no Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. That's my number one. My number one is Turtles in Time. Not just because it is a phenomenal game, not because it's still cited as one of the best in the entire genre, but because it was so impactful to me at the time of release. I was a deep Turtle fan, and it was the game on the console that I played over and over and over again with my brother, playing two-player. We played every character. We just dominated that game.
Me and my brothers also. In fact, not only that, my nephews, when they come over, in fact, my nephews from different countries, I set them up together to play the game. I set them up, others, even my nephew and niece playing that game, Cowabunga, jumping up in Cowabunga. It was such a, you know, so great about it. Even today, I mean, you know, when I'm I'm putting games on for them because it's with it, and I just keep them entertained. Today, that game holds its own. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, these games, no matter what generation you go into, henceforth, a game like that, I think a guy called PVD said once, if you don't know if you got a good book, see if it's still selling after 3 years, after all the publicity is finished.
Yeah.
If it's still naturally
selling,
yeah, then that's a good book.
Absolutely, I have no doubt that Turtles in Time was one of the principal reasons people bought the Cowabunga collection. It was Turtles in Time and the Game Boy games. They were why I bought the Cowabunga collection. There's a load of other games on there, but that's not why I bought it. I bought it specifically for Turtles in Time. I mean, I bought the 3D remake, which, oh god, just don't play the remake.
Okay.
That's terrible. I bought it. My brother and I were like, yeah, oh my god, this is awful. I mean, we humped our way through the entire thing once, and then I just deleted the damn thing off of my PS3's hard drive and was like, no, never again. And we just emulated the original one and played that instead.
Oh my gosh, I tell you, mate. Oh, that's about the point I'll mention. Oh, actually, it's funny that when it comes to one's favorite, this is exactly what I was saying about the AI thing, the emotion. We all have a little backstory as to why we like what we like, and it's not a case of it has this ingredient, that ingredient. For his reason, it has a sentimental. It's a little sentimental value. That game, that title, definitely.
Favorite is rarely the best.
Yeah,
it's rarely the best. Someone who says, "Oh, the best one is my favorite." Well, you haven't had a lot of it. You haven't played a lot of games. You haven't read a lot of books. You haven't listened to a lot of music. My favorites are not the best, but they do hit home.
That's it.
Just the right flavor at just the right time to make a mark.
That's it. My favorite book has to be the Harry Potter series, but the last one, I think, or the first one. I think the first one, because of course there are better books than Harry Potter, of course, no question. But what it meant to me in the time when I was reading it, I felt like when I used to go to Japan and England quite a bit, I felt like I was traveling in and out of different worlds, like Hogwarts and the Muggle world. And it's again similar with Shenmue. When I was playing Shenmue, I was actually in Japan, experiencing the real world outside, the same as I was in the Shenmue world, and you're being connected. Your connection with something, as you say, hitting home. That's the.
It's funny you mentioned that. My favorite Harry Potter book is probably the second to last, the 6th book.
The Half-Blood Prince.
Yes, because when it first appeared, when it came out as a book, I bought it immediately. I started reading it, and spoilers. Do I have to spoiler it at this point? Everyone knows what happens.
Skip ahead if you don't hear people.
Skip ahead if you don't know. Snape kills Dumbledore. But when I read that, I was reading the book on my bed. My brother and my sister were both in my room, and I started yelling and screaming at the book. And they were like, "What's wrong? What's wrong? What's happening?" I'm like, I can't tell you because you want to read the book.
Yeah.
Read the book. No, let me finish the book. No, read the book. Yeah. And it was this moment where I vividly remember having such a visceral emotional response to the book that my family leapt to my support, and it wasn't just a great book. It wasn't just a poignant tale. I don't like J.K. Rowling for a whole mess of reasons, but I do think that she wrote those books well. They are good books. They stand apart from her. They will stand the test of time. They are good books in and of their own right. And that book was great, but it also hit just the right moment, and it allowed me to have this beautiful moment of camaraderie with my siblings.
That is it, man.
And it's it. Every time when I watch the movie, when I reread the books, I get to the 6th book, and it feels like home.
That's it. Oh my gosh, that's it, man. Well, we're gonna have to wrap up here today. But thanks so much. This has been a great breakdown, and
it's been fun. I say more 10. I think we should do more of these top 10s.
Top 10s, and, and it's easy to leave the comments. Just drop it right in between.
Yeah, we can. It keeps pace because we like to chat, we like to ramble, we like to rant. So we kind of go off on a tangent. But it's good to keep us on focus, and it's good for, good place to mine for new video ideas.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Well, and please keep in touch with. Oh, if you don't mind, please let me know as soon as you get the card. We're gonna need that as soon as possible, because if you can.
Yeah, he's talking about a video card. I'm getting a video capture card. We're gonna start doing a lot more actual gaming as opposed to discussing it on this channel. I mean, for God's sake, more than a few of you. If you've been watching for a while, you've seen me look down. I'm playing as we're still talking. I have a game. I have a console in my goddamn hand. I'm either playing my Steam Deck, or I'm playing the Switch, or I'm playing the Mini. I'm playing as we're talking about games. So we might as well play and just include you in it.
Come on, exactly. Yeah. Thanks so much, Dan. And let me know as soon as you get that. I got that.
Will do.
People know.
I say.
Hey, well, that's it. Well, have a good day. And any last comments?
I love talking about people's top 10s. I know that they kind of a humdrum format for YouTube, but when talking about with friends, it's such a great topic because you get to talk about a wealth of things that matter to you and about why they matter to you. And it's such a great way to get to know someone.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's what I love about even Slope and Larry and those two in particular. That's the videos I like of them the most. Are the countdowns. That they're very easy to get through, and it gets you engaging. They get you thinking. You
get to know them. It engages with the material, but also get to know the reviewer. I know Gerard really well. I've been watching the Completionist for a while, and the top 10s are an easy thing that I can put on the background while I'm working.
Yeah. Well, dude.
Right. Until next time.
Until next time, my good.
Peace.
Peace.